Good evening, welcome to the stream, welcome to the studio. I've got all sorts of weird things going on in front of me on my screen. It's just taking a fair bit of time to actually get on stream. For some reason Twitch just wouldn't accept the fact that I was streaming. I seem to be sending I seem to be sending the stream out, and yet Twitch was insisting I was offline. So that was a bit of a eventually it's just come online, so I'm here. It's not doing the 3D printer tonight. I said I'd do that at the weekend, and I will probably do that tomorrow, but one of the things I need to do is I've got an order for a couple of bracelets which I want to get sorted as quickly as I can. So I'm actually going to be making a couple of chainmail bracelets tonight, or at least I'll start one and then we'll carry on from there. I'm going to work with titanium, and I need to clean this desk. It's got all sorts of bits of metal on it from doing the 3D printer. I don't quite know why it's got bits of metal on it from doing the 3D printer, but obviously perhaps with when they were sewing rods and things, it left some of the filings attached and they've dropped off onto the desk, but not particularly a problem. So I do need to do the boring bit, I'm afraid, about chainmail weaving, and that is opening and closing lots of rings, and 60 of each colour to be precise. It's amazing, these are green. They look blue to me, and that's not just the camera, but they are green. So yes, 60. I need a bracelet 8.5 inches long, and titanium. We're going to do a weave, as it probably says, which is half Persian, half Persian 3-in-1, which is not a bad weave. And I am just looking to see if I've got a tool around which will help me with this. So I'll just disappear to one side off the camera while I just try and find where it is. I will one of these days get around to actually putting things away. Where's my little spike? If I don't find it, I don't find it, but it helps. And it shouldn't really be anywhere but on the two desks that are here. So I'm not seeing it immediately, which is a pity. I say it helps to have a sharp spiky thing. And I can't even find any cocktail sticks at the moment, so I guess I will just have to do without it. That's going to bug me now. It's going to bug me until I find things. But anyway, yes, I'm not decorating tonight. I've been working away for some time this week, and I got back earlier tonight, so I really didn't feel like decorating. But I will be doing that tomorrow instead. No, that's probably not a good idea to use this file. I told you it would bug me, and it is doing. Because I really would like to have that particular tool. The bit I don't understand is where it's gone. Because it essentially only gets used for chainmail. So it should be on the desk. I mean, it could have got buried under all the 3D printer parts that I've got here, I guess, but it doesn't appear to have done. Somebody has walked off. I'll say somebody. It's probably me, but somebody's walked off with my little, well, you could call it a bradawl, I guess, but it's a spiky sort of thing. Ah, I can see it. I was just about to get a jeweler's screwdriver out to do the same job, and I found it. A little spiky object. It makes it easy for doing all sorts of things, one of which is counting. So I want 60 of these. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60. Actually 60 is a guess. I need 50 for a 7.5 inch bracelet. This is got to be about 8.5 inch. So I'm guessing that 10 more rings will be enough. We'll actually see if we get that far in doing the weave. Can't even get a ring in place. There we go. So one of these colours will get opened and one of these colours will get closed. That way I can do something called speed weaving. And speed weaving is where you've prepared everything to start with. So I don't individually open and close rings as I work. I do open them all in one go and close them all in one go, at least in large batches. So I need 60 of these as well. I don't think I end up using 60, but we'll see. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60. Welcome to Counting with Zaragon. Okay, so I think what I'm going to do is close the blue ones and open the purple ones. These, by the way, are titanium rings. They're not the usual aluminium, which is what you usually see people using for doing chainmail. They are potentially actually quite a bit harder to work with because titanium is harder, and closing the rings is quite a bit of a difficult thing. I've not worked with titanium now for a while, so I've got I don't actually find it as hard to work with as some people do, but there is, shall we probably say, a technique to it, and I've got to get used to the right pressure to work titanium. There we go, that one's better, which obviously is going to take a little bit to get back to, but we will get there. Aluminium is probably definitely easier to work. I don't find I get my wrist getting tired working titanium, but I do like now. It just won't go where I want it to go, which is to close the gap. There we go. Is that one? Yeah, that's enough. The other thing you got to watch with titanium is they can be quite a lot sharper if you don't close them completely. It's quite a, well, it is a strong metal, of course, as you're probably familiar. That's why it gets used for things like bike frames and things like that. It's very lightweight and strong for its size. this is going to take quite a bit of time, I'm afraid, so it's not necessarily the most interesting of activities to watch until I actually start weaving. The hardest part about this is I actually have to put quite a bit of force onto the pliers with my left hand. I'm going to be careful I don't use enough force that I mark the rings or potentially squash them, but that obviously is a bit harder with titanium to squash. They're just, relatively speaking, as easy to mark though as aluminium is, because they're both anodized in much the same way. Although they may well use different acids, I'm not sure. But anodization is to some extent a surface coating, so it is easy to scratch them off, or as easy to scratch the surface coating off as you would do with aluminium. It's not fantastically easy to do either way, but it is possible, and usually that happens if the pliers slip, and you know the pliers slipped when you hear this sudden crack, which is the plier jaws snapping together. You'd be surprised that there's a very small gap, but you'd be quite surprised at the crack the noise you get when they snap together. But if you try and do it now like this, you can hardly make a noise. But when you're holding a ring and it slips, it's amazing just how quickly they'll snap together and create a relatively loud noise. I'm using parallel jawed parallel jawed pliers here, which is easier for this because it holds the ring with a wider surface area than it would do if I was doing this using pliers like this. In fact, it might actually be better using these. Clicking noise that you hear is okay. It's me actually just moving the wire, the edge, the open gap, the end of the wire over the other one that's there. So it means the gap is, I've closed the gap basically. But it's takes a bit of doing, just because titanium also has quite a bit of spring in it. It wants to retain its shape, it doesn't want to close the gap up. This one is proving particularly awkward. Yep, it is proving really awkward. I've got to be a bit careful. The more I work this ring, it becomes work hardened, and when that happens, it's got a possibility that it will actually snap. It kind of makes it a little bit brittle to bending at the particular place where the work hardening has taken place. Yeah, these wider jaw pliers are actually a little bit easier to do this with. Now I am putting quite a bit of sideward force on this, which is why my finger's on the left of the pliers here, and I actually have to be careful I don't have my fingers anywhere near that gap between the jaws, because if I do and they snap closed and I trap my skin between them, it hurts. it hurts quite a bit. Oh dear. I am well out of practice closing these titanium rings. I'm going to spend ages doing this unless I'm careful. Come on, close. Some of these are really being. I don't know if this is a new set of rings, so I don't know if it's just purely because it's just manufacturing that they are somewhat stiffer and harder to close, but the last batch of rings I don't remember being quite this hard to close. Yeah, proving really awkward. So sorry if this looks like a really boring task. I actually don't find it boring, mainly because actually I'm the one doing something, but and it's a necessary part of the. I've got another pair of pliers somewhere. Let's try these. Actually, I don't like these other pair of pliers. These are the first pair of jewellery pliers that I got, and you might see I've bent the spring back. When I first got these, I made my hands extremely sore because the tension on these was really strong. And you don't, so you took a lot to close them. You don't actually need it. This spring here is all its job is to do really is just to open them again, and it doesn't need to be very strong to do that. And so these other pair of pliers here actually take quite a bit of force to close, relatively speaking. I've got to bend one of these out of the way at some point, so I modified them. They are modified pliers, and they now don't take quite as much force. What I should actually get is a pair of these parallel jaw pliers, which are wide. And I can't. Come on. There we go. Excuse me. It's actually quite a warm job. It's surprising just how much effort you expend doing this. At least, well, I was about to say, at least the purple ones aren't going to be as hard, because opening these things is a lot easier than closing them. But then, having opened them all, and I weave these things together, I've got to close them again. And I've got to close them inside the weave. I didn't actually mind working with titanium. I've done quite a few with titanium. I didn't actually mind it, but this particular batch may make me change my mind. Aluminium is definitely the easiest to work with. There's no question of that. Stainless steel is probably next in terms of workability. And sterling silver is quite a soft one to work, and quite easy to work. It's not particularly cheap though to work with, isn't sterling silver? but it is one of the simpler and easier rings to manipulate. Rather, what makes this difficult is, whilst I am pressing quite hard with these, I'm trying not to mark the rings. Excuse me, it's warm in here. Gets much warmer. I'm going to have to wear a headband and look silly, but or rather, it's not warm in here, but the humidity is quite high, and that's probably more the case. So it feels warm. But anyway, it's a Friday night. I've finished for the weekend. I hope everybody out there is enjoying what will be the start of the weekend. Now I know from experience there is actually a technique to closing these, which I haven't got quite into just yet. I've got a feeling I'm getting close back to relearning that technique, in which case closing these will go a lot quicker. I've actually got a ring here that I can use to open them with, but I don't normally use it on titanium. You'll get quite the same feel of when you're using that as you do when you're using pliers for the amount of force that they can apply. That one is actually, it's a good job I've got I've got a needle file here. Where's my square one? There it is. These are cut by saw. So sometimes you get like a little burr which the saw has caused. Now for aluminium you don't usually see that at all, but titanium you get these, and it's like a little sharp hook on the edge, and of course it's a good idea to get rid of that because it's a little sharp hook and it will catch things, primarily your skin, and it sort of scratches you of course, and that doesn't feel particularly nice. What I've not got right just yet is how to hold these in the left hand pliers, because they're moving. Now I certainly have to close up the gap. I know I don't have to be 100% perfectly invisible, although that does help. With it being titanium, they essentially don't move. So, but if the gap is a little bit too wide, it is possible that you can get two rings to slide past each other, as in the nail puzzle style of how do I get two rings that are joined together out. Maybe what I ought to try is pliers that have a coating on them, and because they have a soft coating they might grip a bit better, but also they are less likely to scratch things. What I could do with here is like an apprentice whose job it is to just close these rings. Because after all, that's the sort of job that apprentices get, is the jobs that are repetitive and the craftsman doesn't want to do. You know, like sweeping up and cleaning up the workshop and things like that. Looks like we're about halfway through on this. Maybe what I should have done is start with the full Persian aluminium first, but I knew this one would be a little bit more awkward for me because I've not not having worked with titanium for a while. But of course, if you've got any interest in chainmail and working with different metals, these are the sorts of things you have to get used to. So if you're looking at me from the point of view of seeing how I do things, you're seeing a true view. It's not a case of, oh, like with YouTube for example, here's all these rings, I'll come back in a moment when I've opened them all, which in real life it might be 2 hours. But of course it's about 2 seconds in YouTube world. And unfortunately sometimes that creates a completely misleading impression to people, so when they try it they kind of wonder why it takes them several hours to do when the person you saw on YouTube only took 5 minutes. They probably only showed you them doing 1 or 2. You see that with quite a few crafts. And it's a concept that I say I kind of struggle with, in terms of I'm not quite sure with my own videos, which I've got to put up on YouTube, but they are there ready to just render, is whether to actually show the full length of doing something like this, and then you get sort of like a 2-hour long video, or whether to actually just do the I'll be back in a moment trick, or do that here's some I prepared earlier trick. I mean, I know myself, I've seen it, we see it quite a lot, or I see it quite a lot with pyrography videos, or pyrographic videos, however you want to pronounce it, because they're usually time-lapsed, and I know a lot of people who see them sort of think, something the size of A4 only takes about 20 minutes to do. You're basically just drawing, aren't you, on it, and hey presto, it's done. And yet A4 is probably 20 to 30 hours of work. And I've seen people, for comments sometimes which sort of says, I tried doing that, but it just took me so long. I'm obviously not very good because this person takes 10 minutes, and that's a real pity when it discourages people because of a misleading impression that they've got. Well, the pile is getting smaller. And I'm getting a little bit better at this. And that little is little, but it's a little, and that little is important. Hear that snap? That's the pliers snapping off. So at this point I examine that ring very carefully to see whether I've actually scratched it or not. And I can't see a scratch. But you cannot make a snap that loud without it slipping off pliers like that. Which I guess to some extent is an indication of just how much force there is on the jaws through the multiplier. Ow! And I didn't actually hurt myself then. At this sort of rate, I am sort of thinking that if this titanium is if my next batch of rings that titanium rings that I get are anything like this, I'm going to stop doing titanium. Or at least they'll be significantly more expensive, because this is hard work. We've been doing this now 20 minutes and I've not actually even completed closing all the rings. With aluminium I'd have been weaving at this point. Now the last time I was, with my last batch of rings, it wasn't taking me much longer than aluminium did to prepare. So perhaps those earlier batches were softer for some reason. See, the odd one actually closes relatively easily. I'm being very careful about where I put my forefinger on the left here, because if it snaps off, it snaps again like it did. As I say, it hurts, and I know it hurts because I have experience of it. Oh, come on. Okay. Ooh, excuse me a second, I shall be back in a moment. I just need to clean my glasses. There we go. Right, there's a few left. I hope these go easier. Please go easier. These are supposed to be parallel jaw pliers. They're not looking very parallel. That's possibly why the ring's moving, but That one was not too bad. Watching the clock tonight. Okay. Pencil Rock there busy saying what's playing. If anybody who's listening happens to like a track that's playing, Petzl is putting a link into chat where you can go gain access to that particular track through things like Spotify, etc., or buy it yourself if you're interested in keeping a copy. So if you like the track, check it out. Stop moving. When I say stop moving, I'm talking about the ring, because I am actually putting quite a bit of force on these rings to close the gap, and I'm twisting it in the pliers when I do that, which makes it harder to actually close. So what we're down to 2, 4, 6, 8, I can't count, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 more to close. At least one thing that I found with titanium over aluminium is it doesn't retain its memory quite so much. With aluminium, if you bend it, it has a tendency to want to return to the shape and place it was. So when you twist a ring to close the gap and then leave it for a while, you find it tends to relax and go back to where it was, which means you've then got to go around them all again and close up the gaps again, which is part of what I normally do as sort of quality control at the end. Having done a weave, I will actually go back through and look at every single ring and make sure it's closed properly. And there's usually quite a few with aluminium. Titanium tends to be a case of once you've got it there, it stays, which is rather nice from that perspective. So to some extent I guess I am trading off that latter activity of re-closing the rings with this slightly more awkward, time-consuming closing of the rings in the first place. And it is easier to close rings one at a time like this than it is to try and close them when they're woven. But I want the best of both worlds. I want these to close nice and easy and to stay. Certainly titanium isn't a beginner's metal to work with, by the way. Sugar. That's okay. Just because of the difficulty, as you've seen that I'm having, and I've worked with it for a couple of thousand or more rings now. It certainly would be frustrating for somebody who has, maybe not done much at all. and hasn't perhaps developed the feel for pressure and things like that, because trying to do this otherwise the rings would be, as if I was trying to do this as a beginner, these rings would either be pinging all over the place, I'd certainly be scratching a lot of them, and I'd probably be hurting myself as well, jabbing myself with pliers and things like that. So if you've never worked chainmail before, don't start with titanium. Start with aluminium. It is a lot easier to work. Has its own issues, but it's a lot easier to work. It's also available in a lot more nice bright colours as well. The titanium doesn't, you don't get shiny titanium. It's a dusky colour, or a dusty colour, dusty. I think dusky is a better description, because it's not an actual dust, but it's that matte sort of powdery look. Down to 4 to do. Opening the others is a heck of a lot easier. That will go a lot quicker. Dear, excuse me. I may have to go get that headband and look silly on stream, but being comfortable and being silly, being comfortable and looking silly, it's not a lot of, there's not much contest in that, to be honest. I will almost certainly carry on with the 3D printer, hopefully tomorrow or on Sunday evening, as I mentioned. I do hope to get at least one stream in at the weekend as normal, and I'll be carrying on with the printer on the next stream. And if I still have this jewellery to complete, then you'll probably see either another stream at the weekend or one on a weekday next week, when I finish off the other bracelet, because I'm still hoping to finish this one on stream tonight. That may be a little bit of a forlorn hope, given how long it's taken to close these rings, but you can but hope. What's life without hope? Depends if you got replacing it with certainty, I guess. Right, this is the last ring to close, and I bet this one's going to be a real so-and-so, aren't you? No, you're not. You're just going to be a little bit of a so-and-so. There we go. Whew, they're all closed. Next job, open these. But as I mentioned, these are easier to do. That's just a twist of the wrist, so I'll get through these 60 really quite quickly. Which is why it's kind of a pity you can't do the same thing in reverse. If you could perfectly reverse this process, you'd be able to close them really quickly. Now, hopefully my hand isn't getting in the way too much. You've got about the best view I can give you with the camera. I'm sort of having to work around it a little bit, but it's never easy to give a good view of something like this. Can't easily give you a top-down view. Well, I can easily give you a top-down view, I just then have to be really careful not to get in the way, because with a top-down view it makes it difficult for me to see. But it's quite a difficult, top-down is quite difficult to see what's going on with chainmail. And I have noticed that in the past. It's a lot better to have a slightly oblique view like this, or like the view I have for myself, but I can't easily wear a camera that won't make you see thick. So hopefully this is okay enough that you can see what's actually going on, and when I start weaving you should also be able to see that reasonably easily as well. I suppose I could potentially zoom in a little bit, but then it gets quite difficult to stay in shot. Ring's already trying to escape. I haven't had any lost yet. What was that? Oh, that's, yeah. Matt Pedalston going live. If you're interested in Train Simulator, Matt's a really good broadcaster. I trained, yeah, any of the Dovetail games. He broadcasts quite a bit. Partly a bit, I guess, because he works for the company, but he actually likes the games as well, which helps enormously. He's not broadcasting; he's broadcasting them for himself, not for the company. So he also does things like some of the bus simulators as well. So if you're any interested in that sort of thing, well worth checking him out. I'm getting seriously close to thinking about looking silly. We ought to have a fan, I guess, for things like this. Right, as you can see, we're over halfway there. I'm going to continue and open all of these rather than start weaving now and then have to come back and open them. There's not much difference overall in the time, but it is more relaxing to me if I can just weave all the way through to the end rather than having to stop in the middle and open more rings. And that's the one that tried to escape, so we'll open that one as well. See, this makes working with titanium look easy, just because of how easy it is with just a flick of the wrist to actually open one of these rings. I really should finish off my stainless steel as well. Stainless steel candy cane I've got. I want to do some of the other weaves in stainless as well, put them in the shop. Because there are people that don't want aluminium. They either like the weight or they don't like the shiny bit. And despite the fact that titanium is, I was going to say, people who are lightweight don't like titanium because titanium is very light, but it's also not shiny. So Right, we're down to a few. I think it's about 5 here before we start weaving, and then I have to remember how to start a Persian 3-in-1. And to that end I shall probably cheat and use a reference rather than try and guess it. Yay, we're done. Right. So Persian 3-in-1, we start with 2 rings. And I can never remember whether they go behind each other. And I know that that is going to go through those 2 there, and I will put another ring on that one, and then we close it, and at this point they all 3 go together like that. And you start wondering, where does the next one go? What you do is you've got to lay it out again and put the next one through, and in just a moment one of the things that I'm going to do, that just lays on top, I think. I'm going to check my reference in a minute to make sure I'm doing this right. What I'll do in a moment is I'm going to put a tie through these things, so I'm going to set those 3 up. Gets a bit fiddly. So get my tie. What I'm going to do is, certainly for those 3, I am going to find the wire end on this, and I'm going to put the tie through. Get out of the way, you. Through there. Through there. I should have got a tie that's got wire going all the way to the end. I didn't. Like that. There we go. Just slide that on there. Come on. Okay, so what that will do, if I can slide it down to the middle, that will hold those first few rings in the right position. And with the Persian weaves, that's the whole battle. Is the first few rings, getting them in position and keeping them in position, and weaving the rest around it. And if you can keep those first few in position, then the whole thing becomes a heck of a lot easier to do. Now this one will be slightly awkward because the tie is basically in the way. So I do that like that. And then put another ring on. Ideally in the right place, please. Just behind that ring there, that's it. And then I can close this off. Now, if I hadn't got that tie in position, this would all have collapsed. And then I have to start and lay it out in my fingers again, trying to work out which ring went where, so that I can get the next one in the right position. Hopefully at this point it now becomes a lot easier, you know, because those are held in the right position, as you just saw. It didn't take me much there to just slip a ring through. I haven't lost the positioning of it. I shouldn't need to put that behind at this point, but it feels better if I do. And I can just basically carry on. What some weavers do with this is, rather than do what I've just done there, what they'll do is they'll have like a ½ inch or so of weave done to the point where it's self-sustaining, it's self-supporting. And once you get to the point of it self-supporting, what they'll then do is, when they want to create another one, they'll just build on that little starting module, and when it gets twice as long, to the point where it would be self-supporting on it, you know, the bit they've added, they just disconnect it from the starting module and then carry on, and you reuse the starting module. Nothing wrong with that. Can't get that to go I want. That's it. I mean, at the moment this thing is still not very stable. And it is annoying me a little bit, but that's just one of those things. Through there. Through there. If I can drop the blue ring in the right place and it stays there, it's just a bit easier. And so, you know, since I learnt this trick, I worked out this trick of putting this tie in place, I haven't had any problems in trying to do either the half or the full Persian. So yeah, the half Persian, the 4-in-1 or the 3-in-1, because both of them are real pigs when you start, because of them being unstable, and the rings won't stay in the correct position as soon as you let go. And like this, they tend to drop, and then you have to spend ages getting them into the right position, and that blue ring isn't closed properly. So we'll do it now. There we go. Now this isn't quite, but it's getting to be self-sustaining or self-supporting. That's it. So we're getting there. So very shortly this actually wouldn't need this tie in place, but I'm going to leave it there anyway. One of the uses for it is telling me which is the start and the end of the weave, so if I have to leave it and come back, I know which end to carry on from. And that just saves time. There we go. Sometimes it feels, I don't know if it's because they've been opened and then closed. I might try that one of these days. It feels easier to close these rings whilst I'm weaving. So the thought just crossed my mind then whether it would be easier to do that for the blue ones as well. But essentially all that I'd have be doing is opening them and then closing them. So maybe that is the trick with titanium, is to open them and then close them, rather than trying to close them from their delivery position. which is just a small gap. Yeah, and this is now supporting itself, so I'm not even having to sort of be quite careful about holding things really, which then makes carrying on easier. So that over the top of there, like that. Maybe I ought to just not bother trying to put it in the right place. It actually doesn't really make a great deal of difference in this particular case. With some weaves, if you don't put it in the right place when you put it on the open ring, you cannot get it into the right position, either because there's not enough space or just because of the way the weave works. So I usually try my best to put them in the right position, because that way then I don't forget when I do a different weave where it is important. But this one, as you can just see, I've just finagled or otherwise moved the ring into the right place. Not bad for doing this from memory, because I haven't done this weave in a long time. And did that scratch anything? Luckily not. Let me just move those purple ones out of the way so I don't brush them with the... That doesn't... What's wrong with that? What have I done wrong? Have I done anything wrong? I have done something wrong. It's that. There we go. No, I'm doing something wrong. That's it. It's just a case of holding it. There's two ways to hold this. And there's actually two ways to weave it. There's something called a left hand weave and a right hand weave, or left hand lean and a right hand lean with the rings, as to because this basically creates a V shape, and so depending on which side you want the colours on the V, it has, it is important which way you weave this, and you can hold it sort of V down, V point down or V point up. And you can actually weave it either way as well, but doing it, you've got to be consistent, otherwise you don't get the right shape. And just a moment ago I was looking at it and thinking this doesn't feel like the right shape. This is going, I was about to say this is going smoothly, and I'm sure that meant Murphy walked into the room, which means it's about to go completely the wrong way, but let's tempt him. It's going quite well. Murphy, you see, I can't keep the ring on the thing. I am not doing this on purpose. He always appears when you say things like it's going quite well. Now the 3-in-1 uses quite a considerable number less rings than the 401 does. It's 401, 4-in-1 does. So it builds quite quickly. I mean, this is what, almost 2 inches long already, which is quite quick. I was just thinking, I love summer on Twitch. It's always a nice quiet time. You don't have lots of people in chat making, you know, comments and things. Nobody asking questions or anything like that. And if you hadn't realised, I was being a little bit sarcastic. Yeah, it's okay. Whenever you're doing chainmail, if something doesn't feel quite right, stop and check. Because usually the reason why something doesn't feel quite right is because something's not quite right. But if you stop and check, then at least you don't have the problem of trying to work it out in the middle. Once you've I guess half Persian 3-in-1 isn't too bad to work out a mistake in the middle and rethread the rings in the middle of the weave. But when you get something like candy cane, then that gets challenging in itself to remove and reinsert rings. I know, because I've had to do it, but it's so that's one of the things, is if something doesn't look right, spend the time now when it's accessible, because when it's inaccessible it will take even more time. I mean, there are, relatively speaking, only relatively few permutations as to where I can put these rings at this stage. It gets a little bit more complex once I start trying to insert one in the middle. Murphy, go away please. Thank you. Beers at the beers at the piers. Okay. This is Pretzel Rock's chill channel, so it's chill music. Something I could do with that at the moment is chilling a little bit, cooling down as in temperature chilling more than chilling relaxing, but I do like the chilling relaxing bit as well. And not forgetting to put a ring on, because occasionally I do that. And with some weaves, not putting a ring on, you can still continue the weave, or appear to continue the weave, until you get a bit further on. Then it looks odd because there's a ring missing, or at some point later on things don't match up and you can't actually put a ring in, because the place you're expecting to put it just doesn't exist. And then that's frustrating, because you then have to undo virtually, you know, all the way back to the mistake and then redo it. Dear. It's amazing the odd thoughts you get whilst you're doing things like this because your brain just wanders, even though I'm also chatting to you guys. But obviously what I'm telling you about is also what I'm thinking. So I just thought if somebody wanted to be really evil, because titanium, as you've just seen at the start of this, is a bit difficult to work with. Some evil person, I could almost see some evil person ordering sort of 10 of these or something like that, just to see me struggle with all the titanium. But I should be so lucky that somebody would A, be that evil, and B, order that many. But and just in case there is, I'm probably going to make sure I put the price up tonight. Actually, the prices in the shop do need to go up. They haven't raised for quite some time, and the material costs are a lot more now than they used to be. So I should actually reassess all the costs. Another one of those two-it jobs. I've got the square bits to do those, but not the round ones yet. I do like it when a chain's going nice and smoothly like this as well. I think one of the reasons why one of the reasons why I enjoy chainmail is because what would it be, about 30 minutes ago I started with a load of rings. I've now got a chain that's about 4 inches long, and because it's a craft that progresses quite quickly. So once you start weaving, you very quickly end up with a bracelet, or well, basically a chain, I guess, of however long. And that in itself is, you're seeing results fairly quickly, which it makes it a lot more enjoyable to do than some of the others. I can't put a closed ring through closed rings. I am not a magician. I might work magic with rings, but it's quite interesting how the tweezers become almost pliers become almost an extension of your fingers when you're doing this. You're not really, well, it's just like when you're picking up something with your fingers, you're doing the same thing with the pliers without actually almost conscious thought. I'm using pliers to do this. To the point where sometimes you forget you can put them down and actually pick things up with your fingers, or manipulate them with your fingers. But of course, in my case, my fingers are quite large, and the one nice thing about the pliers is they're tiny, well, not tiny, but they've got a small narrow nose, so I can see a lot better what I'm doing, he says, nearly missing off putting a ring on there, than I would do if I was actually trying to do some of this by hand. Wouldn't actually be able to close these rings by hand though. I wouldn't say it's impossible to do. It might be impossible for me to do, but it would be extremely difficult. Got to make sure that these lay correctly. This ring that I've got on here wants to go behind the other blue to maintain the pattern. Out the way, blue ring, thank you. On the top of that. That's not closed properly. That is. From the position where I am, what I'm doing is I can see right down the gap of the ring, and if I can see through the gap, I've not closed it properly. If I can't see through the gap, then it's closed. Something that perhaps isn't very easy to see with the camera. I don't know if I can show. No, not fantastically easy with the camera. I'd have to zoom in, and I can't easily do that. I kind of need some remote control zoom for this camera. That being because the computer's over there about 4 feet, and I can't stretch and hold something under the camera here to focus and zoom in on. What I keep meaning to do, another one of those to-it jobs, is I've got a Raspberry Pi. I've got an old one. I've actually got a few, but I've got an old one that's not doing anything. And I have a camera module for it. It's a no infrared one, but that doesn't matter. And I keep meaning to connect that up, put the two together, and then I can use it as a camera feed. And then what I'd be able to do then is run a close-up on the on that, use that as a close-up camera, and then use OBS to switch to it, and then I can do things like hold it, for example, or it could be sat somewhere with a close-up view, which I can switch to as I need to. But again, that's one of those to-it jobs. And actually, if that's a successful to-it job, when I get to it, I might actually get some Raspberry Pi Zeros and camera modules, and get a few more cameras set up. They're HD 1980 by 1020, so they're not a bad resolution, certainly compared to some of the webcams, although this is a 1920 by 1080. That one isn't, but this one is. So it would be the same resolution as the main camera that you're looking at. And for a relatively cheap price as well. Cheaper than the C920 was, or is. The only thing is with them is you've got to boot your camera up. I mean, most digital cameras these days, you do have to be booted up. You have to start them, and you've got to wait for the operating system in them to load. I mean, granted, they do tend to do it rather more quickly than a Raspberry Pi does, but they do usually take a few seconds to boot. I mean, even your iPhones and your smartphones and things like that, you have to load the camera program in order for you to use the camera. So it's booting the camera software. Unlike the old days of analog pictures, where the image was available virtually as soon as it was turned on, unless you talk about the old tube cameras, then they had to warm up. But their own equivalent of booting. But sort of the modern analog cameras, almost instantaneous start. Usually what you have with those there is, although most of the electronics are analog based, at some point you end up with a digital to analog converter to record the image, probably onto something like an SD card or something like that, and then whatever's driving that is usually a software device. Well, it's an FPGA, or whether it's a true micro of some kind, but then they have to boot. You can't go away from booting computers these days. Oh, 20 to 9. I'm in the UK, so 20 to 9 local time at the moment. I was almost about to say it's a long time since I've done any chainmail, but it's probably just a few months from when I was doing the as yet unfinished stainless steel candy cane. Which is sat just over the way on the desk. Okay, for anybody who is watching, I will just tell you a little bit about the channel. Zaragan Art. I do describe myself as an artist from the point of view that I can draw. I use an airbrush for painting. What I'm doing here I describe more as a craft than art, although that's a fine line, I guess, between one and the other. Some of the other things though that I get involved in doing, I get involved in quite a few arts and crafts, some of which I do stream. So the ones that I have streamed have been something called Punchcraft. That's a bit like making a miniature rug. Uses the same technique of punching a needle through material to punch wool threads or other threads through the material to create the pattern and the pile on the other side. I do scraper board, and that's basically a medium. It's a board that's covered with china clay, which is white. It's very white actually, and then once that surface is dry, that's then coated with a black Indian ink, which is very black. And then to create art on there, what you do is basically scratch off the black surface, leaving the white line or area underneath. And by using various techniques when you scratch, and line thicknesses and how many lines and how close they are and so on, things like this, you can create all sorts of black and white images, for example. And so that's two of the crafts, oh, I suppose that one is probably better described as art. Come on, thank you. I also do wood carving, so this is hand chisels as opposed to mallet based chisels, but hand chisels. and carving, although you haven't seen me do any high-speed wood carving. I do that as well, so using very high-speed rotary tools, and by which I mean one of them is a dentist drill. It spins at about 150,000 RPM. It's quite high speed, and it's a very good tool for turning wood into dust very quickly. Another craft is this one that you're watching now, which is of course jewellery, and not only chainmail based jewellery, which is one of the things I do quite a bit of, but I also make jewellery with beads, things like bracelets or cuffs made from beads that are woven together to create image based, so quite colourful. Wristbands, I suppose, is a better description for it. It's a bracelet, but they're quite thick or quite wide, so you can get sort of patterns and images on them. I think the last one I did contained poppies, red poppies. I also do sort of some I was about to say rope style. It's actually kumahimo braiding, but turning those into various forms of bracelet. They've been done, and working also with Swarovski crystal and weaving those to create necklaces and things. All of which have been done on stream and are recorded, such that one of these days, another one of those to-it things, I will put them up on YouTube for people to be able to go and look at. Now another craft, he says, desperately trying to remember what it is, because there was 5 that I used to do. We've talked about the wood carving, we've talked about the jewellery making, we've talked about the punch craft, and we've talked about the scraper board. So the 5th one, yeah, of course, is he says, because there's a machine over there and I didn't notice it was pyrography. Talked about that earlier today. Creating pictures with heat using a hot tool to actually cook wood and change its colour and create images and pictures using that effect. But outside of those, which are all being broadcast, and there's you'll be seeing some images just on the, he says, trying to use his hand here. Camera delay, okay. Sort of where the players are here, just to the right, in the stack on the right hand side, the second one up. Those are all things which have been done on stream, so you know, you can see all those things I've been talking about. It's showing some of the chainmail at the moment, but just about everything, if not everything, on that picture gallery has been done on stream. So you can see the sort of range of stuff that gets done here. Off stream, I am able to do things like rug making. I make rugs, and what they would describe as latch hook rugs, and that's really basically describes the way in which the knotting takes place, because rugs are usually knotted. So it's a short length of thread or wool, which is passed through the backing, and then a knot tied in some way to hold it in place so it doesn't pull out. I've mentioned airbrushing, which is something I do. Glass engraving, actually I have done a little bit of glass engraving on stream. For a few streams I actually engraved a coffee jar live on stream with a picture on, it was a square coffee jar, so a picture on 4 sides, on each of 4 sides, with a coffee theme. One of the sides was easy, it just said coffee on it. But another one was of a Greek coffee table and chairs where you might want to sit and have a nice cup of coffee. And another one was of a beach with a palm tree. and I actually can't remember what the third image was. So I'm going to measure this roughly, and if it's about right I'm going to take the starting thing off to measure it properly. So I want about 8.5 inches, so I need about 8 inches before I put the clasp on. So yes, I'm going to need to put these extra rings on. We're about 7 inches at the moment here. And yes, I work in inches. I also work in centimetres, but for some reason, well, I was about to say, for some reason I do this do jewellery in inches. But if you look on the shop, it does have them in both inches and in centimetres. I was kind of about to say one of the reasons is because I do know that the clasp is about 1/2 inch. But having said which, you could easily just say the clasp is also about 15mm. Yeah. So it's an excuse that isn't an excuse. I'm old enough to have grown up in the UK with feet in inches. And so I'm as comfortable with it as with centimetres. I know you youngsters these days have no idea what an inch is, or a foot, other than it being something on the end of your leg. And if we start talking about rods and poles and perches and fathoms and things like that, then I'm sure it goes completely over the top of your head. It actually goes over the top of my head most of the time to things like rods and poles and perches. One time I knew how long they were. That was something that we had to learn at school. Not anymore. It's a blue one I want to put on there, not another purple one. Blue one. These are green, not purple, not blue. Old ancient measurements. I do remember. Oh, I scratched that. Nope. I do remember a fathom is 6 feet. How you fathom that, I'm not sure. Oh, sorry, I couldn't resist that one. And I've got a feeling that a rod is somewhere around 9, but I'm not sure. And speed in knots, I know is to do literally with knots in the length of a rope. And I'm kind of wondering if, because the thought just struck me, in those old days when they were using knotted rope to measure speed, which was important because speed told you distance and that means you could navigate. Kind of wonder if they use the same rope with knots, or the same knot spacing when they were measuring depth. And therefore, if for example, and I make this up, the knots were every 6 feet, then that's why a fathom is 6 feet. It became an alternative name for the knot in terms of depth rather than speed. I don't know. Maybe I'll look it up, maybe I won't. Just another one of those weird things that comes to my mind while I'm doing things like this. So apparently in the last day or so there's been an earthquake over in or near Turkey and Greece, which I find, in some ways I find quite funny. Not the earthquake itself, which isn't particularly a funny thing, but the way some people have reacted. I understand that a lot of the English holiday makers, that's a work hardened ring. It broke. A lot of the English holiday makers really want to go home because there was an earthquake. Don't quite know why they really want to go home, because having had one earthquake, there's less chances of having another one. But they apparently are somewhat disturbed by the fact that the locals weren't sort of running around in panic, or shooing them out of hotels and things like that. And it's kind of like, that's because the locals know that it's nothing to worry about. But it was apparently only something like a force, was it force Richter 6 on the Richter scale, which I understand at the distance it was felt isn't very powerful. I have been in earthquakes of that sort of scale, to the point where you just wonder, hang on, what's going on here? Things are moving a little bit by themselves. What is happening? And oh, the earth is moving, and you can make up your own jokes. Because I'm sure I don't need to go with that catchphrase. England is relatively geologically stable. We don't get many earthquakes that you can feel. Now, there have been some in the past few years. I can't actually remember when the last one was. It occurred somewhere, I think around the Midlands and Birmingham or something. I am up in Yorkshire, and we could feel it up here. A lot of people didn't realise what it was and didn't know that therefore that's what it felt. Right, I'm getting close to having used up the rings I've got here, so I think I will go as far as using them up, and then we'll measure the length and see whether I need to open and close any more. Having sort of destroyed one ring, I might need to replace that one anyway. And maybe not. Something weird in a way when you're doing this. I've got an equal number of green rings and an equal number of the purple rings, and I was about to say usually I end up with more purple left than the green ones, and yet this time I haven't. Maybe that's because I've started it off slightly differently. If you look at sort of the general sorts of instructions for doing things like the half version, they kind of always start off with 3 rings or whatever, and you end up actually not using one of them, and it just hangs around on the end. It's best taking it off to make your pattern more consistent and when you're fitting a clasp. And I've got to the stage where I don't even bother putting it on because I know I'm going to have to take it off again. Okay, I've got one purple ring left which would close this pattern off. because I might need to put some more on the end of it. I'm going to measure it before I actually put the last ring on that I've got out. We'll start by taking the tie off. Assuming I can get it to come off. Try going the other way. As you can see, this end now holds quite well, and that's the spare ring. Doesn't really get used. I didn't take it off, and that one has to come off before, or at least be moved before I put the clasp on, because the clasp wants to go onto the two end ones that are there, not this one on its own. What we'll do now is measure this, see how long it is. Can't find my ruler, so that's why I'm using this ginormous ruler. How long are you? That's over long. Okay, that's longer than I want it to be. So I will have to strip some off, but yeah, this is actually a 9-inch bracelet at the moment rather than 8.5. So I've got to take 1/2 inch off. So I shall have to remember that. I didn't actually have a ring count for 8.5 inches. I only had a ring count for the for the 7.5. One thing I'm going to have to start doing is labelling my stock when I get stock bits in now, because I've got that many different things like clasps and stuff like that. I was just studying these because for the minute I wasn't sure if these were stainless steel or whether they were silver, sterling silver, of which there is a considerable difference in price. I'm fairly sure these are sterling silver. So let's actually just for the moment, I'm just doing something really silly, measure the length of this, because this is how it sits. So I'll just measure roughly how long that is, which I'm fairly sure is about 1/2 inch. Actually just under 3/4. So what we'll do is we'll make use of this ring here. Put that through 2, and then we'll put the toggle on the end of this. Put on the toggle on this end, and I may put another ring through and make that a double pair, just for additional strength. But for the moment I will leave it with just a single ring there. In fact, what I might actually do is put a purple one alongside it, so I maintain the green purple theme right through to the end. Now then, for that to be 8.5, so I'll go from roughly about there. That's be 8.5, blimey. Yeah, that would be about 8.5 there, which means I need to split the rings there. This is where this sharp tool comes in quite useful as well. So what I'll do is take that one off. Don't need that in there now. Okay, I'll just put that to one side because I will use that ring in a moment. So if I wanted a starting module, there is one. And the next bracelet I need to do with this, what I would probably do is tag that on the end of it. Now then, that will be correct, yes. Just build off of that, which I might find a bit awkward because I don't normally do that, but that's quite a useful length of chain, and is also a relatively valuable length of chain. So I'll put the blue on this side, yeah. Okay, like that. And that sits quite nicely, that's good. So what I'm going to do is take this pink one. So if it had have been the right length, I'd have had the right number of rings. I'll count how many are there later and I'll make a note of that for my records. So that the next time I want to do one that's 8.5 inch, I know exactly how many rings to use. And there we go, one 8.5 inch bracelet. So I'm just going to check my measurements again. Obviously I can't count somewhere because that was 9. So yeah, that's 9. So I actually have to take to bring that down, I've got to take 3 pairs off. 1, 2, yeah, I've got to take 3 pairs off of that. Okay, so we'll take these off. This is 1 pair. I'm going to discard this particular pair of rings now. It's been opened and closed too many times and I don't want it to break through work hardening, so they'll get discarded. Oh, come along, stop playing games with me please, rings. Thank you. And let go of the toggle as well. I know you want to keep there, but you're not going to. So I take off this pair as well. In a really awkward way of doing it, but that's fine. I take off that. Okay. And I'll take off this pair and then put them back. Actually, I'll take them off and put them back. I won't put them back as the way I was going to put them. Yeah, well. Okay, this is where I've got to think carefully when I put this on, because I'm going to put this on with, instead of putting the rings on as I did as a vertical pair at the end, I'm actually going to put these on in weave pattern. Which means I've got to get this one right. that's going to go through there, but not through the blue one. Come on. And it is going to be quite an awkward thing to do. Can I close that? Okay, let's see if I can get that through, bring it through to where it's easier to close, like there. And if I've got that right, which I haven't. Can I fix that without? Have I got that through the blue in the wrong direction? Oh, I tell you what, I am not going to spend that much time trying to work that out. There is very little difference in the pattern from doing it. So I am just going to take these off and rethread. It's important that you get your bar, in this particular case, but your clasp to lie flat rather than trying to twist or lie on its end, because that gets uncomfortable to wear when that happens. So I want the blue on this side of it here. So sometimes you end up having to put extra rings in just to swing the clasp through 90 degrees so that it lies flat. In this particular case, I don't need to put extra rings on, but I do need to make sure they're just in the right position, which that is, so it lies flat like that. It's not trying to lift up. Come on. Turn over. That's it. There we go. Now I'll measure the length of this. You're going to want to take another one off, aren't you? Yeah, you are. Okay, well, I'm going to do it right. It wants to be, it was requested at 8.5 inches. It's going to be 8.5 inches. That's been off too many times. That can get discarded. As can that. I'll now use this one for the chain, for the fastener. By the way, this fastener is called a toggle and bar, and the bar is this bit here, and the toggle is the circular thing at the other end. And I want, I think, the blue on this side of it. Now this should be 8.5 inches. It should be 8.5 inches, but we're going to find out. we'll find out how close it is. You can never be 100% accurate to something like 8.5 inches, because your minimum span or your minimum change is always a ring section. So it's always as close as can be reasonably made, and usually it will be slightly over. Like, yeah, 8 now. This is probably 8 and 9/16, something like that. Probably about 2 millimeters longer than it is, but that's about as close as you can actually get to the required length. And usually slightly longer is better than slightly shorter, of course, because longer you can get on, shorter you can't. So toggle, the bar goes through the, he says, the bar goes through the toggle, the bar goes through the toggle, like that, and then you get, it sits, sometimes called a T-bar, and it sits like that, fastens like that. And this has got a twist in it, but that's all right. I've put the toggle through the wrong way, through the basically got a twist in there, and I'm not doing very well tonight. I've got 2 twists in there now. Come on, twist yourself out. Twist yourself out, come on. Of course, when you're doing this on your wrist, it's a bit easier just to put it. There we go, it sits properly now. It sits the same way around, and actually having done that, some people like them that way around. Some people prefer them with the toggle, the T-bar on the top rather than on the bottom. It's entirely personal preference, there's no right or wrong way for it. There we go. Uncompleted bracelet. Hey Default Guy, good evening. Sorry I didn't see you there, I was too busy trying to sort out that. I just couldn't get that toggle in the right place. But titanium, there we go, a titanium. Persian 3-in-1. And I made it, I accidentally, well not accidentally, but I purposely, on accident, made it longer. I will now at some point count those rings so that I remember how long an 8.5 inch bracelet needs to be. How's the game coming along? I believe you were broadcasting that this morning, today. I couldn't actually watch you today, I was actually in an office, so I wasn't able to actually watch. Now what I need to do now is put that to one side, because the next thing, and those rings will need to go in the bin along with that broken one, is a full Persian. Time is it? 21:19. Okay, I'll probably go well 10 o'clock tonight. And this is where I now have to remember how to do a full Persian. Not only that, I could do with knowing how many rings there are, and I could also do with knowing how long this one is. Yeah, no, but what it does is I agree, and just, you know, it depends on just how perfect they are and things like that. But what it does is it's a good starting point when I only want to sort of open just that many or close them, especially with titanium. I find it easy to work with apart from closing them, not on the weave but as a speed weave. Closing them is quite hard, and I'm going to have to try a case of maybe opening all of them and then closing them before I weave them, because that seems to, that whilst it work hardens it doing that, it seems to actually close a bit easier when there's a bigger gap to close. Okay. Who's ringing the bell at this time of night? I shall be right back, just a moment. I'm sorry about that, as you might have just, well, you just heard, presumably. That's my doorbell. Lady Zara's going to have a look and see who it is. Yes, I want another one that's this length, which is actually 9.5. Well, yeah, the chain length is 9.5. 8.5. 8.5 plus clasp, so it's a 9-inch. Yeah, somebody tried that one on and decided they liked that length. That's one heck of a doorbell. It is rather. Actually, I can pick anything I want. It's that's a doorbell I designed for myself. Our house is such that bear with me a second. Okay, my yeah, the house is such that we didn't want wires coming from the doorbell, and bear with me a second. Right, yes, as I was saying, the house is such that if we had a normal doorbell, I couldn't hear it here in the studio, for example. Literally, I can't hear it. And if somebody knocks on the door, bangs on the door, can't hear it. The wireless doorbells that you can get don't work here because they going through the walls. It won't actually get a signal to here where I am in my office, which is further away for when I'm working. So I had to design my own doorbell. So the doorbell itself is a little Wi-Fi unit which fires off a signal when you press the button. It logs into the Wi-Fi, sends a signal to the master controller, which is doing other jobs as well. The master controller then sends a signal out to the sounders, which there's one on the breadboard down there, which I'm currently in the process, when I get these to its again, to putting in a box. And it just fires off. It just plays a recorded tune. So I record on one of the chips whatever I want, to be honest. I could record myself saying there's someone at the door, answer it, and it will just play it back. But it's quite a clever doorbell because I can also set the times when it will or won't ring. So for example, it's now 9:25. At 10 o'clock it stops working. So if somebody rings the bell overnight, it doesn't ring. It's quite useful in that respect. I was just going to have a look and see if I know how many rings are in that. So this is something I meant to do earlier. I did it with the half Persian that I've just worked on, and then forgot to do it for the full Persian. So 70 of each, 140 rings or thereabouts. So he says, looking, are they the right size? Yeah, they are. Clean Easy, a salesman. They're the people that leave a catalogue around, and you can then buy things, and they pay them. They come back later with them and buy them. He's been around for a number of years. It's a bit like door-to-door sales, I guess, but he's not. He's not as aggressive as some of them are, and he just drops it off, picks it up later, and if you don't want anything, you don't want anything. And usually we don't want anything, but I think Linda's Lady Zara has just picked up some particular thing that she happened to see in there. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I've lost count. Doesn't really matter, to be honest, does it? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 31. One of the things I keep meaning to do is weigh these. That way then what I can do is count them by weight. Oh, okay. Apparently, if you've been probably if you're well enough known, shall we say, you can make quite a bit of money out of doing it. Most of the stuff probably isn't that good. It's kind of alright, I guess, for what it is, but don't really want to disparage it. It's okay if you happen to want what it is that they're selling. 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65, 66, 66, 67, 68, 69, 70. We'll start with 140 and see how far we got, and we'll split them because again these I can close half of them if I remember correctly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65, 66, 67, 68, 69, 70. Put them to one side. So I heard the other day you've given yourself a launch date for your game. Somewhere, was it around September 2018? I think you mentioned. Or is it actually going to be sooner than that? So I'll close these. I'll close this half and open that half. Remembering to stay on camera and not go past the stack on the right. And having just done this doing titanium, I've got to be careful I don't put too much pressure on these and to achieve what I'm after. And it looks like I'm going to need to buy some more of these silver rings. He says, and whilst I'm doing this, I'm also busy trying to remember, and I probably will give up and cheat, how to start a full Persian. What's your target date? Oh, it's always good to have a target for something like that, because it does encourage you to start thinking about what's the important features that you must have in, and which ones could be left out for a later revision or something like that. It's always a good idea to have a target. Artwork, yeah. Of course, that's down to how good you are at artwork, I guess. You could always try and get it on Steam Early Access, for example. Although that isn't always, so I understand that isn't always as good as it might sound. But for something like this, it might be an interesting way of launching it, and still continuing to develop it and get feedback on it at the same time. You could always find I don't know, maybe one of your viewers is interested in is an artist or interested in helping with the artwork. I haven't actually watched. I know you've sort of played it a few times on stream, but as part of your development. But I actually haven't seen you play it. It's something that, as you know, my work sometimes means I actually, even though I work from home, I sometimes have to turn streams off just so I can actually concentrate, because things like development tends to be a bit too interesting. And if I'm involved in trying to do something else, and some of our month-end work, for example, is quite mentally taxing to do, then that is a time where usually, whilst I like some sort of background noise or something going on, I do actually have to turn the sound and everything else off and just concentrate. Oh no, yeah. If you start trying to commission it, it's going to be expensive. I was thinking more of somebody who just felt like contributing just because they wanted to contribute. Oh, it's the school holidays again. I say I don't have any children, so school holidays is not something I get to particularly notice, especially since I'm not travelling. It was something I usually noticed on the roads when I was travelling, because I'd suddenly find going into work on a Monday morning, instead of it taking me an hour, I was in there in 20 minutes, and I was 40 minutes early. And it's kind of like, I don't really want to start 40 minutes early. I don't notice it at all these days. As I say, working from home is I guess the only time it does become noticeable is when I go Can I have a day off, please? And they go, yeah, everybody else is off. The answer is no. Why is everybody else off? It's school holidays. Oh. Okay. Alright, I'll open them to close them. After doing the titanium, this feels too easy. It feels like I'm not doing it right for some reason. Talking of artwork, have you sorted your emotes out yet, Eddie? It's something I haven't got around to yet either. There's those tuits. They're in really short supply. Actually, to be honest, at the moment I can't actually think of what would be a suitable set of emotes. So that's more a case of why I've not done any. But I should get some done. Excuse me. Oh, bug found. Oh, okay. And other than I tell you what, the one on the left looks like. It looks because I can't actually see. I mean, what it actually looks like is a ring with a pair of wings. And the thought that came to me at first was like a golden snitch. Oh, a pile of rings. I see. I can see the first, the left lower pointing one. The other two, the other that are laid on top, just kind of look like. They say it looks like a pair of wings. Now, I'm wearing glasses, don't forget, so that means I can't see it too well. The text in the book found took a little bit to find, to read. I think for something like book found, what I'd probably do, just because the thought just crossed my mind, is literally that. Sort of a bug with either a boot or a hammer. As in bug found. And if that's an idea which interests you, feel free to use it. I will quite happily concede the rights to that idea. Sorry, I've been having a discussion today with somebody about things like copyright and rights to images and things. Somebody who didn't actually see the fact that, or couldn't quite understand how, for example, me describing an idea and describing what the image should look like meant that I own the copyright on that. Okay. Yeah, that's the other thing, isn't it? You kind of got to keep ideally sort of not want to use something that is too similar to someone else. And of course that's going to get, well, I was going to say get increasingly more difficult. I know there's an infinite variety of images, but it can... 10 or 22, yeah. It's been a long day for me. I've just spent 4.5 hours travelling. which although it was on a train is still quite tiring. I've done it before driving that sort of time, or even longer for that matter, but I don't know, trains always feel more tiring at the end of it to me. Even though it's been more comfortable, I haven't had to drive, I've been able to do other things like read. Maybe it's the reading that gets me tired. Although on this particular one, being a Friday afternoon, the train was somewhat crowded and I was in an airline seat instead of a table seat, which is where I usually prefer. It was somewhat cramped, and I was trying to do some programming at the same time. And I got a little tiny table with a lot of space, and I'm really sort of cramped up. But it passes the time rather quickly when you're programming. So I don't know if you happen to have seen it, Eddie, but I've actually managed to get around to it. So one of those, I found one, and I've actually started building my 3D printer. I've only had the kit about 2.5 years, and it's well, I'm guessing it's so out of date these days, but I'm going to build it anyway. And I am building it anyway. I started building it last Sunday, just on the stream, and got the frame built. So either Saturday or Sunday of this week I'm going to be carrying on with that, with the Z-axis. I think is the next step in the build. Although it took me almost an hour on stream to find the right instructions, which didn't help, but it was quite good fun. And Poke Ranger dropped in as well, which was nice to see him. Oh right, you saw it. Eventually I realised that what it was I had the Pro version, which was probably the only version available at the time, but once I realised it was the Pro version, and pictures really helped in that respect, it was then really clear, and it went really rather fast. I was surprised, actually, talking about size, because I was kind of aware of the size without being aware of the size. Usually when you see them on things like videos and stuff like that, you've got no context for the size, and I imagined it to be quite, even though I sort of knew the build volume, for example, I imagined it to be quite large, and when I got the frame built to the side of me here, it's a lot smaller than I thought. So you know, it's I now have a bigger studio, so I've got the space, but it would actually have fitted in my old studio space, which was, as you used to be able to see, just the space on the desk. So they are certainly a lot smaller than I expected, but the cash to buy them is a bit the money's a bit these days. Although having said which, the price I paid for the kit that I'm building and the price you can buy them at today is the same. So they've not changed a lot in price, but they've got a lot better. And I think I mentioned when you were watching that if I was going to go out and buy one today, I'd have gone and bought a Peugeot i3 rather than the kit I've got, but I've got the kit I've got. I know I have some uses for it, but I don't actually know whether I'll make as much use of it now as I was intending to back then. One of the things I kind of really wanted to do was, I was thinking back then of getting a copy of ZBrush, which is horrendously expensive, and I am currently using the cheaper version, as in the free version of it, and sculpting things in that, and then printing them out in 3D. For some reason, I have quite an interest in tiki vases. Although I think to do one of those successfully, I probably need a Delta printer with a larger vertical print volume. Yeah. Well, apart from that use which I've just mentioned, one of the things I want it to use it for is I want to make at some point one of a couple of things. Well, one of a couple of things. I'm not quite sure which. 1, 2, 3 things. I want to make a remote control model, and the model I want to make is either a double-decker bus, a bendy bus, or a tow coach. I'm not quite sure which yet. As a pusher, so it's the engines in the back pushing rather than engine at the front pulling. For some reason, the idea of a bus just fascinates me, and I want to use the 3D printer for printing some of the parts for that, things like let's say the front bumper assembly and the light clusters and things like that, rather than sort of starting with a block of plastic and having to file it and things. That and the obligatory chess set. I've got a feeling. I mean, that used to be one of the things that for a lot of things, like if you were ever into sort of plaster models and things like that, the chess set always seemed to be one of the things that everybody wanted to do. And I know for Lady Zara with the candles, whilst it wasn't described as a chess set, some of the more popular moulds for candles were based on the Lewis chess set. So you could actually create a complete chess set if you wanted to do so. They just didn't sell them like that. They sold them as sort of abstract things. But of course, if you know anything about the moulds for plaster or for candle making, they're both the same. Which means interestingly, you could save money by buying a plaster mould rather than the wax mould for the same thing. Which is a bit stupid. No, you didn't mention you've got a quadcopter. So, have you got a quadcopter or have you got a drone? I'm kind of guessing it's probably the latter. So what did you get, and how are you finding it? And I'm half betting it's got a camera on it if it's not a quadcopter. Oh wow, well done. Not only well done, because you understood the difference for a start. Well done. If you're flying a quad, that's not bad going. Pioneer UFO. It's not one I know of personally. I might have a look at it after the stream. I can't remember where I was at the time. I was talking to somebody about quadcopters, and having a quadcopter, and I remember the thing that they said to me, "Is that one of those that's got the 4 propellers on it?" And I just cracked up. And it makes me crack now. Hang on a second. I ought to add you, Eddie, shouldn't I? Which I won't do now because I can't remember the command. But let me just go in here somewhere. I actually don't know where my... Oh, I know what I can do. Go away, you. Let's just do a /permit. Where's my keyboard? Here we go. /permit space ADI. E. Oh, yeah. Well, links aren't turned off, but MooBot is grabs them. Permit ADIEFA. Okay. Permit. I can't remember my own commands. Do you remember what the command is, AD? I can't remember to let you post links. Oh dear. What's that one? Yeah, it is that one. Oh, it's not a slash. It's a yeah. You're right. It was me. I used the slash command rather than the plank, and that was. I'm just rusty on using all the commands, and I haven't really looked at them. Okay, complete with the camera. Go. Oh, I hate that. I've just gone to that site. There's a pop-up on it with an X to close it at the top, which it ignores completely. And it will not let me say no. Right. I hate things like that. If I was actually either that or it's just crashed, one or the other. If I was actually going to that site and it was not letting me close like that, I would say that's it, forget that site altogether. Although Hobby King is usually a lot better than that, but I think it's, judging by the fact that the fans just started on this thing, it's probably crashed. Yeah. Right. Task manager. Oh god, it's gone. That took a while. Try that again. And no, you probably don't if you've. I'm on a PC as well, but it's probably a script that it just didn't like. I mean, I've just gone in there now and it's not done it. So it probably only does it the first time you go on. I keep forgetting I've got a touch screen. I'm using the pen to do it instead. Yeah, that's quite a nice one with the visual with the camera on board feeding back to the transmitter. Don't know if you've used it a lot, but with something like that, take care that you don't get too absorbed in the camera view. It's very easy to get absorbed in the camera view and not actually lose your 3D orientation and not actually realise where the quad is in relation to other things. People sort of get lost like that and fly into things because they're concentrating too much on the picture that they're seeing. Now it's yeah, learn to fly without before you try and fly with the camera. There is a completely different skill. Daft as it sounds, it's your visual cues are different using a first-person camera to when you're looking at it, and when you're using first-person camera, of course, your controls are all tend to be as you expect them to be, except your mind plays tricks. So if you see yourself in the picture, your mind goes, you're flying towards me, therefore I need to reverse controls, which is what you would be doing if you were looking at it from the ground. But you've kind of got to get into the mindset of trying to control it as though you were actually in the device, the quad in this case, when you're flying it with the camera. And that takes a little bit of doing, and if you're not sure how to fly it in the first place, it can be quite hard. You don't have the binocular vision either as well, so distances are a real pain to try and understand when you're flying that way. Flight lanes, that's good. I'm guessing it's got a fair bit of stabilisation on it as well, so that does help. In fact, it's almost impossible, I guess, to fly it quads without. I know I wouldn't want to these days. As you know, I've got a couple of helicopters. When I started to learn to fly helicopters, which is a long time ago, and I gave up for a number of years, the only thing we had back then was gyros to help control, and I say help control the tail, and there was no other stabilisation at all. And these days, when you get 3-axis stabilisation, it's a lot easier than just the rate gyros that we used to have. I'm actually surprised. Yeah, I hadn't realised the size of it, I guess, because I'm now looking at it and comparing it to a transmitter that's in the same picture, and if it's about the same size transmitter as, say, mine, it's not too bad. I'm kind of surprised that it doesn't like wind too much. It's probably about half the size of my main quad, I guess, and that one doesn't really bother too much about the wind. But there again, you know, if you're trying to fly when it is windy, trying to understand, trying to follow the trying to fly when you're not experienced to fly in a windy environment is quite hard, especially if it's gusting. Yeah, yeah. These the transmitters that tend to come with those are they are somewhat lightweight. They're usually all plastic. Nothing particularly against it. The ones that I am used to, shall we say, the older style of things, they usually have like a metal case or sufficient metal in them that they are quite a weighty thing. But yeah, I kind of know what you mean. Because the quad itself is as light as it possibly can. I think the batteries are probably about the heaviest thing that there's going to be on it. Now I cannot remember how let's do a search. So I'm just going to look and see if I can remind myself how I start a full Persian. Okay. Oh, does it? Did it come with batteries? Because that of course is the one of the heaviest bits, isn't it, of a transmitter, is batteries. This site looks to have got a lot more complicated recently. Sorry, I'm not saying a great deal. I am just doing a search. Well, they just want a reminder of the starting position. Oh, that one sounds interesting. I shall have a look at that later. A full Persian dragon scale. Why can I never find what I'm looking for when I'm looking for it? I can usually find these things first straight off, and on the other computer they're bookmarked. Will that lead me to... Let's do a backwards hunt through that. Okay, we're back there. Transmitter didn't have batteries. Yeah, your batteries are probably what made it feel the heaviest. Yeah, no. Ah, looks nice. I've just seen a weave called drill bit. That looks quite a nice looking weave. I'm going to have to take a look at that one at some point. Been a while since I've looked through this. That's probably the one. No, that wasn't the page, it was that one I was after. Oh dear. And back again, please. Thank you. I want that page, that link. That's the one I was after. Right. So that's reminded me of how to start this thing, which is kind of how I was expecting it to be, but you never know. She's one of the ones I do least of. I do more of the halves than I do of the fulls. Yeah. Do this a bit quicker. Okay, so I always hate this bit where you're trying to get rings to go somewhere and they won't. They go just where they want to. Come here, you. You are going to go. You are. I always hate the fiddly bit right at the start. Okay, so right, like that. No, don't fall off the end. There we go. That's like that. Now I've got to remember how to take it another step, which is probably going to just be put through there. Okay. Through that. I'm feeling rather frustrated with this at the moment, because this is not going through the rings like I want it to do, which probably means that I normally do it a different way. There we go, like that. Now then, I've got a feeling at this point I put 2 rings on there, so I'm going to do that anyway, and we'll find out if I'm right. Oh, come off there. Come off there, and let's get hold of this ring. This is always a fun bit to watch, isn't it, when it gets frustrating. So I've either done this right or I've done it totally wrong. But it kind of looks like it might be right. So what we now do is see if I can get another ring through exactly the same path. Let go. That's always the trick, isn't it? Getting it through the same path. I've got a feeling I maybe should have opened these the other way around. Has that gone through? It has, blimey. And you go down there and fold back. I know you go down there and fold back. Like that. And like that. There we go. And I didn't mean to do that, did I? Sending rings all over the place. I tell you what, I'm probably getting a bit tired. So let's have a look. You down there. You go through. No. You're good. Stop that. There we go. Talk to the rings. They do more of what you want when you talk to them. I've done something not right. Okay. Quite clearly I've done that wrong. They want to be inside of those, not on the outside of those. Okay. I'll get the hang of it. I'm not sure whether I can or not. Let me first of all do a permit on you. At some point after the stream I will add you so that you can put links in, AD, but I'm not going to try and remember how to do that. So let me take these 2 rings off of here. I'll put them in the right way, and then there's a join on these rings somewhere. There it is. Let's take a look. Okay, hexagonal tiles as well. Which is interesting because I was watching it. Which modder is it on Minecraft? Is experimenting with hexagonal tiles, or instead of square blocks, hexagonal blocks. Yeah, hexagonal. Yeah, hexagonal blocks. I'll get my words will start making sense one of these days. You know what? My words aren't making sense. They are making sense, but I'm getting too tired. I'm going to stop. How's that for a sudden decision? I did want to do some more of this, but it's I've been streaming for about 2.5 hours. I've had a long day. Hex blocks, yeah. Instead of the square blocks, they're hex blocks, and they obviously they tessellate. They go together. So I've been watching. I can't remember who it would have been. Something on Twitter. Let's see if I can. I have to have my phone here. Let's see if I can see the. See if I can see a picture. Although it's probably a while ago now, so if I scroll backwards. And we'll see, but I will be stopping the stream because I can tell my attention is wandering whilst I was trying to do things, and that's not a good idea. Too many mistakes get made like that, so I shall just see if I can find it. Yeah, although having said which, I do have a Discord login, so I'm not sure I've logged in from this machine though before, so it may not be a fully valid test. Oh come on, I didn't think it was that far back. It's got so far back it's now trying to do this. No, if you write a mod you can do anything you like. I think what he's done is probably he's changed the renderer for the blocks to make them. There's some if you were just talking about things like shall I describe them as standard mods, you can have balls, circles, you know, these sorts of things. You know, everybody sticks to the square blocky sort of look because that's the theme of Minecraft to some extent. Everything is like that, but no, there's quite a few things. I'm trying to think of which mod it is now, but the power storage for it is a gigantic ball. But I mean, yes, this is a more fundamental change when you've got down at the you're actually changing the blocks themselves, the standard blocks themselves, the earth blocks, into hexagonal blocks. I cannot find it. And I'm trying to think whether it could be whether it's iTunes or one of the other, or Vox, or wish I could find a picture that way. I would know exactly because I'd see it. Not quite sure what I'm looking for even to do a search, so I'm about to give up. I don't often look at Twitter, to be honest, and it was something that immediately jumped out at me. But not enough to remember who it was that tweeted the picture. Ah, come on. I guess there's one thing I can try. Come on, give me a keyboard, thank you. Let's have a look through here. So I'm just looking through Direwolf's Twitter feed because it's quite likely that he Temmer, RW Temmer. Oh. Don't know if you can see that on the phone, but they're all hexagonal blocks. The bed, the enchantment table. If you look at the sand blocks, they're hexagonal. Piston is hexagonal. So yes, he was. I think he described it as having a fun, having play around with changing the rendering from the default squares. It kind of looks interesting, to say the least. Of course, a lot of the default generation has to change. Things like the ender portal, which would be square, has to change. But yeah, so I don't know if he's tweeted anything else. He's tweeted a few pictures of it, things like that. So even the switch, yeah, I don't know if you can see it. Even, is this going to expand? Yeah. Even the switches are hexagonal. Oh boy, that sand looks weird because the top's hexagonal as well. I hadn't noticed that. I thought they were flat. The top's hexagonal. So it is literally hexagonal on, I was going to say on all four sides. How many sides would a hexagonal object have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I guess it'd be 10-sided. Be a 10-sided object. It's different, isn't it? I mean, because everybody's used to the cubes. It looks completely radical, but it does give it a somewhat completely different look. Some of which makes more sense, like the hopper sort of makes more sense, or as much of a sense anyway. Yeah, that's somewhat weird. And of course, the enchantment table doesn't really show any difference. The bed's a bit odd. Oh, his fence isn't hexagonal. Oh, that's a letdown. Is that bits of it are, but and they are. Anyway, yeah, it's an interesting thing. I am going to say good night to everybody. Thank you very much for being on the stream this evening. It has been fun. Will probably do this this last bracelet offline because the next stream, which is the weekend, will be the 3D printer, doing some more of the 3D printer. If I haven't got the bracelet done by then I may well do a second stream with completing the bracelet, but I do need to get it done quickly and then order some more rings because I'm just about to use all my silver ones up. So thank you everybody. Feel free to check out me on Etsy, zaragonart.etsy.com, or even on my own website and on zaragonart.com. And if you feel like it, obviously follow me here. I'd encourage you to do that so you get notified when I go live again. Also on Twitter, as you just saw me looking at Twitter, at zaragonart. And I do tend to tweet when I'm going live or if there's any problem stopping me, so good way to keep in touch with what's happening on the stream. Anyway, thank you very much. Nice to see you. Hope to see you again on the next stream. Bye for now.